Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Game Developers Conference Director, Jamil Moladina.
Good morning, and welcome to the Game Developers Conference 2006. What's next isn't just our theme this year. It's a very literal description of our keynote series for the show. There has been phenomenal anticipation for the next generation of consoles, both from a consumer and developer standpoint, and we are proud to host the demystification of the next generation transition. First up today is Sony Computer Entertainment. While some of the announcements last week may have created as many questions as answers, our first keynote speaker has a long history of delivering the goods to the development community. Having worked in game development for over 20 years, with the last 14 building the PlayStation family of hardware and software, he is the ultimate Sony insider. Now that he sets the entire global development strategy as the president of Sony Computer Entertainment Worldwide Studios, Phil Harrison is ideally positioned to guide you through the market leader's future strategy. Folks, please give Phil a warm welcome to the GDC stage.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Jamil, for that kind introduction. Certainly sounds good when you say it. Welcome to our keynote, the title of which is Beyond the Box. Now, what do I mean by beyond the box? Well, I mean taking us beyond the technology and hardware announcements that we've made over the last few months and showing our future roadmap. Taking us beyond the software box. In fact, literally taking us beyond the software box. New distribution opportunities and new business models which we think are going to grow the market for everybody, which in turn will lead to bigger audience opportunities for everybody in this industry. When I was last on this stage 6 years ago, I gave a keynote just a few days after PlayStation 2 had been launched in Japan. And I'd like to share our report card with you very briefly, what we've done over the last 6 years. Well, 100 million units of PlayStation 2 have been sold, and over 1 billion units of software from 6,732 titles, many of which were contributed to or created by people in this room. And I would like to extend my personal thanks to everybody who has been such loyal supporters of the PlayStation family over this time. Please give yourselves a round of applause, I think, for that. On a global basis, our market share is over 60%. In some countries, it's as high as 85%, and we continue to grow PlayStation 2 in many markets all around the world. On a cumulative basis, our market leadership is clearly dwarfing the competition, and this is the last competitive slide you will see in the presentation, nearly. But you can see that our job is to grow the market, our job is to lead, and our job is to innovate, and we feel that we have been very successful in doing that. And we've also done it faster than we did it on PlayStation 1, which was the first game system to get to 100 million units, as you well know. We've done it faster, but we've also done it at comparatively higher price points. This is very good for the economy of the video game industry. Now, when we started our business in 1994, a lot of the industry analysts said that platform life cycles were shrinking and contracting down to 3 or 5 years. Well, this slide clearly shows that that has not been the case in reality. PlayStation 1 as a hardware format has enjoyed a 12-year life cycle. Now, we are still selling PlayStation 1 software in many markets throughout the world. And oftentimes, because the price points are slightly lower in some of the more price-sensitive markets, PlayStation 1 is the dominant video game platform. And that will continue to be the case with PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2 clearly represents a tremendous commercial opportunity for everybody in the industry. And for all the talk about new platforms and moving the industry forward to the future with next generation, don't forget what's happening on PlayStation 2. This will provide a tremendous commercial opportunity, one that we're certainly taking advantage of with our own studios, with our own products, and we're committed to supporting PlayStation 2 long into the future. I'd like to share with you today an exclusive look at one of those PlayStation 2 titles that we think will continue to power the growth of this format next year. And to tell you more about it, I'd like to welcome to the stage David Jaffe, the creative director of the Santa Monica Studios and the designer of God of War. David.
Thanks. So a lot of people ask us in Santa Monica why we've decided to put God of War 2 on PlayStation 2 versus PlayStation 3. And there's a couple reasons. The main reason it turned out to be is actually quite technical in that PS3, as you guys will see today, is probably, it's safe to say, the most powerful game machine on the planet. But it has limitations, technical limitations. The main one being it seems to be incapable of rendering three-way sex scenes in real time. And this is actually quite true. And so what we're doing is keeping the vision on PlayStation 2 in order to deliver that to the audience, as well as the idea that the PlayStation 3, while it is incredibly amazing and exciting and very, very sexy, which you guys will see, there are millions and many, many millions of gamers who will continue to game on the PS2 after the console transition has occurred. And we are very proud and excited to be able to bring quadruple A gameplay, better graphics, better gameplay, more immersion to players who are continuing to enjoy the PS2 experience. I think it's safe to say, hopefully you guys will agree when you get your hands on it at E3, that God of War 2 is totally on track to be better than the first God of War, which is very, very exciting, under the direction of Cory Barlog down in Santa Monica, and I'm sure you'll get to meet him over the next year. So we actually brought a clip from the game, so this is God of War 2. I hope you guys like it.
By defeating Ares, Kratos, the once mortal warrior, became the new god of war.
Thank you to David and the phenomenally talented team at Santa Monica Studios for sharing that with us today. It's a family show, after all. So, moving on to PlayStation Portable, the newest addition to the PlayStation family that you can see up here. PlayStation Portable, PSP, has become our fastest growing format ever, growing faster than PlayStation and faster than PlayStation 2 all around the world. And I want to share with you some innovations that we believe is going to accelerate this growth over the coming months and years. One of the key pieces of information I wanted to share first is a new lower price for the PlayStation Portable development tools. We've shipped over 5,400 worldwide, and we're now reducing the price in North America to $5,000. We believe this will help extend PlayStation Portable development even further into more studios. And the PlayStation Portable itself continues to innovate. As you know, we download or make available for download operating system updates which enhance the functionality and capabilities of the PlayStation Portable. In the next update, we will be introducing the ability to gain access to RSS feeds for audio and text. And then we're also enhancing the browsing capability of PSP with a Flash-enabled browser, which will be available in the next update, really enhancing the internet browsing experience on PSP in the home or in a Wi-Fi hotspot. Another great innovation will be the addition of a video and still camera for PlayStation Portable coming this October. Now, the obvious application for this is a Wi-Fi-based video phone, and we will have video and voice over IP functionality built into the operating system. But I believe that there are also gameplay opportunities provided by having a camera attached to a PlayStation Portable, and I encourage the industry to consider this as an additional functionality, or indeed a sole functionality of your software titles. Communication-based games, I think, could become a very powerful part of the PlayStation Portable story. We will also have a GPS receiver for PlayStation Portable. And once again, the obvious application being in-car and outdoor navigation, but I still believe that there are tremendous entertainment opportunities provided by a GPS receiver. Geocaching, for example, has become a very popular, albeit underground, entertainment in the world, and I think that there are opportunities for game design to take advantage of the GPS receiver, and I once again encourage the industry to think about this. The schedule for our network updates and our hardware updates is there, and you can see that in the wintertime, around October, we will be introducing a further key innovation to PlayStation Portable, and that is the ability to download and run software programs directly from memory stick. Now, as you know today, games are distributed on UMD. This will continue, but we believe that by augmenting this with the ability to do network downloads, we can have true e-distribution of content directly to PlayStation Portable without the need for a disk to be in the machine. And this will come from a content server saved onto your memory stick and can be booted at any time directly into your PSP. This will be augmented by having PlayStation 1 contents available through an archive server. Through a PlayStation emulator, users will be able to gain access to the huge library, the legacy library of PlayStation 1 contents, and run them on PlayStation Portable. A tremendous innovation that will extend the commercial life of some of those 12-year-old titles. As we move into the PlayStation 3 era, PlayStation Portable and PS3 become seamlessly integrated, both through USB and through Wi-Fi. We see the two products as having an absolutely integral, interoperable connection and operation. You will be able to browse content stored on your PlayStation 3 and use your PlayStation 3 as a media server in the home or anywhere in the world. And clearly the PlayStation 3 providing the bridge to a broadband internet world connected that way. So that's the PSP story, but let's look at a PSP game that I'm very pleased to share with you today. This is from our Japan studio, and this is Loco Roco. I can't wait to play that game this summer when it comes out around the world for PlayStation Portable. Now, on to PlayStation 3, probably the main event for most of you in this room today. And I'd like to bring you up to speed on a lot of the announcements that we made last week and take you into the future. But I'd really like to start with an apology. Some of you may know that at E3 we made a big presentation, and I made what is probably the worst joke of all time when I referred to our duck demo as having LOD technology, standing for lots of ducks. I regret it now because 2 weeks after this presentation, we did an internal staff presentation, and I did the same demos and I stupidly repeated the same joke. And as I got to that point, 1,000 rubber ducks fell out of the ceiling and landed on my head. So the ducks had their revenge. But what I'd like to do is to share with you a demonstration of what the team at SCEA R&D who created that demo did and show what happens when ducks sink. Now, you can see... now, I hear somebody's asking for the side screens. This is HD projection, so this is only going to be on the middle screen. I apologize for that. It's in 1080p, which sadly we couldn't get to the side screens. But anyway, this demonstration shows that we have more than just ducks here. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of fish being simulated in real time using procedurally generated animation. All of the graphical effects are procedurally generated. The sun is being accurately simulated, as apparently I'm told it's 16,000 times brighter than anything else in the sky, and that is accurately simulated. And you can see all the different species of fish schooling and flocking together in a very complex behavioral simulation. A great example of what PlayStation 3 allows us to do when we distribute tasks across multiple SPUs. It's a great demonstration. I can sit and watch this for hours, but sadly, we do not have time for that. So moving on to some of the key information about PlayStation 3. One of the key features, as I alluded to earlier, given that we have this family of successful platforms around the world, is full backwards compatibility. And we will achieve this, assuming that the TRC for the software title has been fully observed. In addition, PlayStation 3 has full Blu-ray disc support, not just for movies, but for games, and I will share a little bit of information about that later. The full spectrum of display devices will be supported by PlayStation 3, from PAL and NTSC standard definition all the way up to full HD 1080 progressive. Connected by the latest HDMI, using broadband network connections, obviously, and the wireless connectivity, which is built into PlayStation 3 as standard. Hard disk drive is another key feature, and something which I will come back to later in this presentation. One of the other key features of the platform is a simultaneous worldwide launch, early November 2006 in Japan, Asia, North America, Europe, and Australia. Now, the production capacity for PlayStation 3 will ramp up faster than PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 at over 1 million units per month. Clearly, that will grow in future, that will accelerate, but our startup capacity is faster than any device we have brought to market. What enables the software community to take advantage of this power is the fantastic support from the tool and middleware companies that are working to create great technology and great workflow benefits for the development community. Many of the companies listed here are making announcements here at GDC, and I encourage all of you to go and check out what these companies have to offer on PlayStation 3, all of them providing great tool and technology solutions to meet your development needs. Three companies I'd like to focus on, though. Epic with their Unreal Engine, and Aegea Physics and Havok all have fantastic SPU-optimized builds of their technologies that they are showing here for the first time. And the Epic and Aegea guys have put together a stunning demo, which I encourage you to go and check out. SN Systems is a company that we've had a 10-year relationship with, and we were fortunate enough to be able to bring them into the Sony Computer Entertainment family late last year through acquisition, and bring their great skills to the PlayStation 3 development pipeline. Their ProDG debugger, bringing 10 years of experience dedicated to games, coupled with a tuner and a distributed build system to optimize code development and also reducing compile time. And shortly, they will also introduce a C compiler, which creates highly optimized code for cell and SPU development. The schedule for our software development kit is absolutely on track. We will have the final version of all of our software tools shipping to developers in June, and you can see the rest of the schedule on the screen. The hardware schedule clearly focused on delivering final technology to developers in time for E3 and then rolling out from then on through to the November launch. So let's take a look at some more demonstrations of how the tool and middleware companies are really enriching the game development process. And I'd like to welcome to the stage some people who have helped put together this great demo. Richard Lee and Andrew Bowell from SCEE and from Havoc, respectively. This demonstration is kind of a three-way production between Ninja Theory, the creator of Heavenly Sword, and the ability to show some very sophisticated ragdoll physics. Now, we've seen ragdoll before, but we've never seen ragdoll with this kind of fidelity. And this is game production code. This is not a rarefied demonstration environment. This is actually using game production assets which allow the team to really show the power of PlayStation 3 when you distribute the tasks across multiple SPUs. With a sophisticated rendering, multiple SPUs allows us to have a pretty significant army as well. And each one of these objects, there's nearly 1,000 of these fully skinned, fully rigged, fully simulated ragdoll characters. Each one of these can be blown up, as we will now show you. Sound effects, great, isn't it? And we can pick a few of them off. We find a few that are still standing miraculously after all this chaos. I think just looking at this, you can see game design opportunities just by looking at it. I think we should just ship it like this. It's great fun. Maybe we'll make it available. That's great. Richard, Andrew, thank you very much for that great demonstration. Now, another demonstration, once again, much more in a game environment, also based on physics, uses some vehicle dynamics as well. And here to show the demonstration, Simon Hobbs from our SCEE London studios. Let's have a look at this demonstration. So we start here with a car. Now, before you jump to any conclusions, this is definitely not a car that you would see in a traditional racing game, and we'll show you why in a second. But you can see the really detailed paint shader that we're able to create here on PlayStation 3 using RSX. This allows us to simulate the imperfections that you get in paint on a car. We can put a few more imperfections into the paint on the car as well by shooting at it. And you can see that the car is procedurally being destroyed by the bullets going into it. The geometry is being augmented by the bullet holes, and we can literally rip the car to shreds in front of you. This is a combination of graphics and physics and dynamics all combining together to extend the sophistication that we can get from gameplay on PlayStation 3. Now, this is from a forthcoming title that we haven't announced yet, so we've stripped out all the other stuff that kind of shows what kind of game it is. But you can see it's clearly an action game, and I won't say any more than that. But it's a brief look at some of the cool things that we can do with physics, and we can have a kind of clown ending to it where we make all the tires fall off like that. So thanks very much, Simon, for that great demonstration. Now, a lot has been spoken about in the media around the world about Blu-ray disc and what it means to the movie industry. And I wanted to take a few moments to share with you why Blu-ray disc is vital for the video game industry, and to show a couple of stats here to back this up. This chart shows the ratio between the amount of capacity you have on a disc format and the amount of memory you have in a system. Now, another way of looking at it is like this, that you can see that a nicely balanced system is about a 100-to-1 ratio, where you have about 100 times more storage capacity on the disk than you do in the main memory of the system. Now, this has tremendous benefits, both creatively and also commercially. Creatively, obviously, we're an intensely media-rich industry. And this means more graphics, more variety, more objects, richer detailed, all of the superlatives that you would expect. More theatrical performance is going into our games. More sounds, higher bit rates for sound, more surround sound. This is all going to eat up disk space like you wouldn't believe. But from a commercial point of view, this allows more localization to go onto a single disk. It allows more speech to be put into local languages, and it allows developers and publishers to create one single disk for a global SKU. That's a tremendous benefit that Blu-ray disc brings uniquely to PlayStation 3, in addition, obviously, to being a very high-performance next-generation movie player, too. Now, to show this in sort of real-time 3D, so to speak, here's a demo that we showed previously at E3. But some people didn't believe that this demo was running in real time, and I just wanted to kind of put an end to that speculation. But this is actually running on PlayStation 3. You can see I'm moving the camera around here, not particularly well. And you can see the richness of the scene. Now, this is just Piccadilly Circus in central London, which is based on our Getaway Future Vision demo. And this uses hundreds of megabytes of data. And in order to maintain this kind of richness all the way across an entire game, we absolutely need Blu-ray disc in order to deliver what the customer is going to demand, this kind of fidelity in all of their games. So, moving on to some more game-like demonstrations, I'd like to kind of share with you a technical demonstration, but it looks like a game. It is a game. It's a game that we're going to be showing more of at E3, but we don't want to give too much away about the game, but really to focus on the technology behind it. And here to tell you all about it is Dylan Jobe, the producer and director of Warhawk from SCEA Incognito Studios. Dylan.
Thank you, Phil, and good morning, everyone. I'd like to spend a little bit of time today talking about how we're using the capabilities of the PlayStation 3 to breathe life into a classic franchise that we have called Warhawk. And the first thing I'd like to talk about is something we're referring to as Ambient Warfare. And simply put, Ambient Warfare is the combat simulation that is being constantly evaluated in the background, creating the environment of an epic war for the player to engage in. We really think that this is a big element for Warhawk because we're all aware that the PlayStation 3 can generate HD image quality and HD audio quality, but it certainly can create a very compelling HD behavioral simulation as well. We're talking about hundreds of enemy fighters doing strafing runs on these impossibly large capital ships, those same capital ships firing back with their anti-aircraft weapons and missile launchers and bombard cannons. And although we spend a significant portion of our system resources doing this combat simulation, we also use the cell processor for a variety of natural phenomena as well. So for example, here, this ocean surface that I'm flying around has its geometry procedurally generated by a wave simulation every frame and then sent to the RSX for rendering. These clouds that I'm flying in and around right now are being rendered using a volumetric software ray tracer running on another cluster of SPUs. And really, this is an interesting paradigm shift for us because it's the first time that we're mixing cell-based software rendering with RSX-based hardware rendering. Now, certainly, you don't need to use the cell to software render. You can do so if you choose. The RSX has plenty of power on its own. Consider, for example, these capital ships that I'm flying around. They have surface materials that are orders of magnitude more complex than anything we could have done on the PlayStation 2. They feature color maps and ambient occlusion maps, parallax maps, dynamic shadows, and point lights. All of it being rendered by the RSX in true high definition, and all of it being rendered with 4x anti-aliasing. I think the last thing I'd like to mention about this Warhawk demo is really kind of on the production side, given the audience we have here today. And that is that while the PlayStation 3 is a complex and very powerful machine, its entry point and ability to get access to the power of the cell is still very accessible. I want to share something that we've been doing on the team, and that is that while we have a variety of programs running on the various SPUs for collision or physics or animation or water surface simulation or particles, none of them are actually written in assembly. And I think from a production perspective, that's very, very, it's very safe. It's very comforting to know that you can access the power of the cell without the traditionally expensive and tedious production costs associated with low-level optimizations. So with that, I'll conclude the Warhawk demo, and I look forward to seeing you at E3, where you can get your hands on this game and play it yourself. Thank you.
Fantastic. Round of applause for Dylan for being able to talk and fly and shoot all at the same time. Great demonstration. Well done. So, now to some very significant announcements relating to PlayStation, and something that the industry has been demanding from us, and that is a network platform. This is our internal name, not a consumer-facing name, and I want to share with you a lot of details about the network platform and what this means for game developers and game publishers, and ultimately for the consumer around the world. The basic service is built around 4 principles, the 4 C's: content, which is you, communication, community, and commerce. And I'm going to go into each of these in a little bit more detail over the next few slides. The basic outline is that the service starts with the launch of PlayStation 3 this November. The basic service is free of charge, and we will build it out on what we describe as an open internet business philosophy. We see this as meaning an open service with a lot of collaboration and a lot of opportunities for developers and publishers to work with us. It will be a worldwide network. We're building it in collaboration and co-development with Sony Online Entertainment, truly the pioneers and innovators of many of the business models and technologies that we know in the PC space today. They are using their expertise and talent to write ground-up technology in support of our business goals. We will provide all the basic services as standard. The infrastructure, investment, and operation will be handled by us, but third-party game servers can also be connected. So this means that developers and publishers of MMO-type products can work and integrate with our network platform, and we see this as a key innovation for PlayStation 3. The basic community services obviously start with account creation through user registration, and that unified login will be available worldwide. We'll have the basic community services that you'd expect: lobby and matchmaking, scoring and ranking, video and voice chat, and text chat, all as part of the standard, with presence and friend lists and avatars all part of the experience. The commerce services are really where the whole thing comes to life. We will have a shop to sell online content, and shops can be accessed at an API level from within games, and I'll show you what that means in a moment. Content can be downloaded to the PlayStation 3 hard disk drive, and that means that disk-based products can have an augmented experience by downloading additional content that can be paid for within the network platform. But also, game applications can be launched directly from the hard disk drive. No game disk is required. You can have complete e-distribution for PlayStation 3 if you so wish. And we will have flexible business models. We'll support subscription, we'll support pay to download, and we'll support micropayments and microtransactions in multiple currencies all around the world. And all of this will be wrapped up with what you would expect: entitlement management and all the customer service tools that would be required to create a great consumer experience. The delivery schedule is as follows. Next week, we'll be dropping the first release of the SDK to developers. By the end of April, the second release. By the end of June, we'll have completed the development server functionality, and full testing can start from July. And by September, the final production environment will be available, which will allow developers and publishers to tune their products ready for the launch of PlayStation 3 in November. Now, I want to share with you now some images from our Formula One game, which is in development right now for PlayStation 3, and to show you some examples of what the network platform user interface will look like. These are still work in progress. We'll share a lot more of this with you at E3, but I just wanted to give you a flavor of some of the things that our team in Japan and in the US are working on. Here we see a video chat window overlaid seamlessly on top of the game. Different players, obviously different position in the game, getting a different video chat window. And multiple video chat windows can be open at once. Messages can be sent and presence is overlaid inside the game. All of these messages generated by the system inside the operating system. Email and friend lists can be contacted and implemented from within the game. You don't have to leave your game in order to have this communication directly with your friends and with your buddies. You can send email, you can send game requests, and you can bring up even more people onto your video chat windows. In the front end, you could have a message pop up. The user will be able to control whether these messages are intrusive or not. And you will be able to then decide how to act on that message, whether you then go and read that email or ignore it. Now, when you take this into the commercial aspect, this is just an example of how the shop front end can appear within a game and how you can download content that you've bought from inside the game. Now, let me just caution you on one thing. Please don't read too much into the price point that we've put on there. We're not just going to be charging $1 for our tracks. We haven't made any announcements about that. This is purely for this slide. Another example of a shop is one which is more closely integrated into the style and tone of that game. And here we see with Motorstorm, the graphical interface of the shop has been adapted to the graphical style of that particular product. Here we have downloading new cars or new buggies, and here we have buying and downloading new tracks. This gives you a flavor of the kind of interface that we seamlessly want to create for PlayStation 3's network platform. So, talking of Motorstorm, I'd like to share with you now what we call a groundbreaking PlayStation 3 demo. And here to tell you more about it is Scott Kirkland and Mick Hocking from Evolution Studios. Guys?
I'd like to start with a brief overview of some of the technologies that we've developed for Motorstorm. We use high dynamic range image-based lighting, and we also use light space perspective shadow mapping and ambient occlusion. We have a number of post-processing effects going on, such as tone mapping, motion blur, bloom. It all goes together to make a great image. Now, the vehicles are modelled in great detail. In addition to complex geometries, we've also modelled materials such as fiberglass, carbon fibre, various paint effects, even the individual welds on the vehicle's frames. Now, with wet and sloppy mud, you can see that our vehicles can leave persistent deformation trails. Now, as this mud dries over time and becomes thicker, it starts to present an obstacle for lighter vehicles. And when we attain hard-baked and heavily rutted ground, you can imagine that that presents quite a challenge for vehicle suspension. Now, we've used Cell to model sophisticated vehicle dynamics that allow the individual wheels of the vehicle to ride over and drop in to the contours of the newly deformed ground. Now, thank you for that, Mick. I'm now going to show you some footage that we captured earlier today. With more nimbler vehicles, such as bikes and ATVs, it presents opportunities for the player to influence the vehicle behaviour. So by leaning back, wheelies, and leaning forwards, you can do endos. Now, we've also got a lot of particles in Motorstorm. All of these are processed on the SPU. Now, in the example you're going to see in a moment, it shows that we can actually spray those particles onto arbitrary objects. We actually do lots of collisions on the SPU, and the result, as you'll see in a moment, is pretty cool. Now, that also dries over time. contrary to what you can see on the screen there, we've barely scratched the surface of Motorstorm today, so all that remains is for me to say that we're looking forward to seeing you all at E3, when we'll be showing you a lot more of Motorstorm. Thank you.
Thank you to Scott and Mick for that great demonstration. Next up, another more game-like demonstration, in fact, a sneak preview at another one of our key titles for PlayStation 3. And here to tell you all about it is Ted Price, the President and CEO of Insomniac Games. Ted.
Thank you very much, Phil. Hello, everybody. Okay, I'm going to be showing off an internal demo that we completed a few months ago. This is showing off engine and technology that we've been working on for a game formerly known as I-8, now known as Resistance: Fall of Man. Now, what's interesting about this demo is that when we completed it, we had just started moving our systems over to the SPUs. So what you're seeing here is primarily running on the CPU. But even with just a couple systems running on the SPUs, it's a huge leap over what we could do with any other system. Now, over the past few months, we have been moving more of our systems over to the SPUs, and we found that with every system we move over, we can actually do much more per frame. And when I say more per frame, I mean more sophisticated collision, more concurrent AI routines running at the same time, more special effects processing, basically more of everything that makes these worlds more realistic. And let me get rid of these guys here. So obviously this is a little bit more than a tech demo. This is demonstrating the look and feel for the game Resistance: Fall of Man. Let's see if I can tag this guy. So we've got some really kind of fun weapons in this game, and we're definitely taking advantage of the power of PlayStation 3 when it comes to physics. So it's one of my favorite weapons. Show it again. This guy's going to go down. There we go. Got him. There's some other great weapons that we have planned for the game. This one is also one of my favorites. And this is, as I said, an early demo. We're hoping to show a lot more at E3 in the next month and a half. It's awfully fun to play. I can just sit here and blow these guys up all day long. So. There we go. Sorry, they keep coming. Okay, killed them all. So I want to say a couple words about why we're working on the PlayStation 3. Now, I know a lot of you understand that Insomniac and Sony have had a long relationship, but it's important to remember that Insomniac Games is an independent developer. We've always had a choice about which platforms we use. We chose the PlayStation 3 because it has superior firepower. Now, I could also sit up here and regurgitate a list of specs for you, but what I'd rather do is talk about the two things that have been most exciting for us as we've moved on to the PlayStation 3, Blu-ray and the SPUs. A lot of you out here in the audience I know are already developing next-gen assets, and you know how expensive they are. And I'm not talking about expensive in terms of dollars, though that is true. I'm talking about expensive in terms of disk space. Every object we create is more polygonally complex, requires more maps, more shaders. Every sound's got to be higher fidelity. Every character requires hundreds more animations to make them believable. Simply put, to make more believable worlds, we're generating more content, and that's got to fit somewhere. So when Sony announced that PlayStation 3 will be using Blu-ray, I think it was a huge win for developers. We can now do things that we've never been able to do before in terms of storing stuff on the disks. We can now include that extra vocal content that we had to cut in previous disks. And as Phil mentioned, we can now have one worldwide disk with all of the languages present. We can now have our pre-rendered cinematics in multiple formats, all the way up to 1080p on one disk, and still have room to spare. So this has been fantastic for us. But what's helping us push into new video game territory are the SPUs. Now, hopefully everybody knows that the cell has 7 SPUs that are specialized for heavy mathematical computations. Expensive systems like physics, collision, bot navigation, AI, special effects processing, and many others can be moved off of the main processor onto the SPUs. And even better, each of those individual processes can be split among multiple SPUs for even more savings. Now, the challenge in developing this is that you've got to balance the load between the PPUs and the SPUs to make sure that all the processors are evenly tasked. But if you do it right, the PlayStation 3 can do more per frame than any system invented. And doing more per frame is what makes these worlds believable. So that's the beauty of the PlayStation 3. It's parallel processing on a level that we've never experienced before, combined with a storage medium that helps us satisfy the insatiable demand of consumers for more content. And it's definitely helping us make better games. So I showed you Resistance Fall of Man, which is going to be out this year, but I also would like to share with you a sneak peek of something that we're working on, something that will hopefully come out in the future. And we brought a non-interactive demo, so hopefully we can go ahead and start the demo.
Ted Price, ladies and gentlemen, what a wonderful demonstration. So, today, we have an industry which has been based on a fairly simple business model. We make content, we put it in discs, we put it in boxes, and we sell it in stores. It's what our industry has done very well for the past 25 years. However, in the future, we're going to go through a radical change. We will be creating and servicing a network of game communities, and I believe that this represents the most fundamental shift in the planning, creation, production, and management of game development that our industry has ever seen. And I fully expect that GDC in years to come will be really focused on this shift from disk-based business to a network-based business as we move into the future. Our revenue streams are going to become much more complex, but this gives us tremendous opportunities. Today, as we know, we have disk-based revenue as our primary revenue stream. But with the introduction of the PlayStation Network platform and all of the things that PlayStation 3 can do, we can augment that business model with content that is downloaded and bought direct by the consumer. We can see episodic content start to become a reality on PlayStation 3, something I'm personally very excited about. I believe that games can have the same social currency as a great television program. I know what it's like when there's been a great episode of Lost or 24 on the TV the night before. Everybody talks about it. I believe games can and should fill the same role in our future. I think that we can also see a much more vital revenue stream coming from in-game advertising. Let me share a statistic with you. SOCOM 3 on PlayStation 2 launched last year, and just in North America, that game has clocked up 39 million hours of online play. Now, before all the SOCOM fans get worried that I'm trying to mean that SOCOM 4 is going to be advertising supported, that's not what I mean. But just in terms of a homogeneous audience that advertisers can identify and can sell their products to in the right way, that presents tremendous commercial opportunity for our industry. And if done correctly and with great sensitivity to the consumer, I believe that this can provide a tremendous revenue stream for our industry. As I've mentioned earlier, the network platform will support subscriptions. The PC industry knows this very well today, how subscriptions work in massively multiplayer online games. World of Warcraft is a social phenomenon all around the world. In fact, if World of Warcraft was a country, it would be bigger than Ireland. Now that is a fantastic achievement. I'd love to bring that kind of social network functionality into future PlayStation 3 games and beyond. Something that we're also looking at is the opportunities provided by mobile gaming, and also something that I'm determined to make sure we keep inside our business model is that of game object auctions, and this is potentially a contentious issue which I'm going to neatly skip over. Then into something which Hollywood does extremely well, and something that our industry needs to learn better. That is merchandising. We are creating phenomenally powerful brands and IP that resonate very strongly with our consumer. And I believe, once again, if done sensitively and with great consideration for the consumer value, we can generate tremendous revenue streams for our business from that. This is what I call the Wheel of Fortune, and this is what our industry is going to be enjoying in the years to come. And it's the people in this room who are going to make that happen. That direct connection between the consumer and the game creator is something that we want to push as well. And that's why I'm announcing today that we are introducing an initiative to create the next generation of content for PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Portable that will only be available online and distributed directly to consumers via our servers. And this e-distribution initiative is something that is a call to action to developers and content creators who perhaps we do not know today. They may be working on other platforms, they may be working on other countries. And that's why we're launching a website. And this is going to be the central point of communication. PlayStation.com/beyond. This website is in English, Japanese, and Korean, and shortly in French and German. This website is live now, and this will allow developers and content creators around the world to make an initial contact with us through this website. We will then get back in touch with them through our local, regional game producers who are working in Korea, Japan, Europe, and North America. We're looking for the next innovative creators to work with on this initiative. And we believe that this is an opportunity for tremendous experimentation and for games of all types and all sizes, not to be limited in our thinking here. And I encourage everybody to really get in touch with us because we really want to see what amazing innovation we know lies out there. So, as we move from this product-based era to this service-based era, we're going to go through an evolution, as I said, starting with packaged game product, augmented and extended by downloadable content, purchased online. What then enhances that is the community experience, the MySpace type experience, the social network experience, and we believe that that will become a key part of the PlayStation 3 consumer experience going forward. And what ties it all together is clearly communication. What brings it to life will be the video chat, the voice chat, the text chat, and all the social networking features that we will be building into our games in future. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about innovation and how we're moving this forward to new consumers. We've been very successful in creating software experiences augmented by a piece of hardware that we know has grown the market. We know that consumers have bought consoles in order to enjoy these products. iToy, SingStar, and most recently, Buzz. The second version of Buzz just entered the charts in the UK this week at number 4, and together has already done over 2 million units in just 6 months. But I'd like to focus today on SingStar, and I'll show you a little bit about this product first of all. That this is a singing game. It's become a phenomenon in Europe. We have sold over 4 million units across 5 main variants of the product. Now, in fact, it's 35 individual versions, ultra-localized, and something which I think is probably a first for GDC or any slide is a Croatian SKU of a game. But this ultra-localization has helped us reach more consumers and push out our brand and our products to new users who would not normally purchase a game console. Going back to this slide, just what this means to creating games and moving from packaged to service, I'd like to give you an example of what we're doing to take SingStar from a package-based product into a network channel. And I'd like to run a videotape that sums it up. So you can see that what we're doing with a product like SingStar is to really take it out of a traditional into a next generation experience on PlayStation 3. So, in summary, you can see that we have the tremendous family of hardware platforms supported by phenomenal technology, both in terms of the software and also the network platform. And we have the innovation to grow the market, and I think together we have an incredibly bright opportunity and a great future ahead of us. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great GDC.